Welcome pedalers to another pedal preservation video, and up on the stand we have got, what have we got? Because we've got bits of a bike. So we're saving one bike by sacrificing another, so to speak. So story is, we've got this Specialized Rockhopper, which is a lovely bike and a lovely frame, but unfortunately due to a crushed frame we're not going to be able to use the frame as such, because I have no idea how I'd even fix this. So this one is out the picture. So what I have is I've got this Giant ATX frame. Now you may have seen this many times before because it was always hanging up behind me in the videos. So now it's its time to shine. Now it's an extra small frame, so this will probably be quite handy coming up to Christmas. People will typically be looking for smaller frame bikes, and this one will be a good one because we're taking all the running gear, which I've actually stripped off the Specialized, and we'll be putting that onto the Giant ATX, because the running gear off the Specialized was all in very good order. We've got some nice 26-inch wheels, we've got nice Schwalbe hybrid tyres, we've got the dart forks, we've got SRAM X3 drivetrain, and we've also got a Tektro hydraulic brakes. So join me on this video where I take this and put it into that. Right, let's see if this is going to give us any trouble. Hoping not. Oh, famous last words. Yep, right, I'm gonna drop it on the deck. Right, you've seen me do this before. Get that there, foot on there, back end's raised slightly, support the frame and stomp. There we go. Simple as, never failed me. Right, this should whisk off nice now. Yep. Ooh, actually, quite clean. We can put this bottom bracket back into storage for the next bike that needs one. Let's give it a wee degrease. Ooh, see where that just went? Petey's brush to the rescue. Right, now with the brush, just clean up the threads. Right, pre-lube the threads, keep corrosion down inside to a minimum. Same on the bottom bracket. Just give the body a wee coating. Maybe in 30 years time they'll pull out and it'll be fine. There we go. Right, while we're down here, we're as well just putting the cranks on. Right, I finally found my copperies, so I'm going to start using that instead of grease, which is what I normally do. So the cranks I cleaned in the ultrasonic cleaner, and just giving them a quick GT85 spritz up. We got the nuts at the ready. Just drive them straight in. This will also make sure we've got clearance to the frame at an early stage, because I've made that mistake before. So I've already cleaned it ultrasonically, so it's all fine that way, but what we'll do is we'll just give the jockey wheels a quick service, because it's quick, and to be honest it's something you should really do on a regular basis anyway. There we go. See what we're dealing with. Got a couple of, well, that's interesting. Feel like there's something missing. I don't know, I've not come across that before. Well, a quick clean, but see what that'll do. Sure, as I say, that's an odd one. Wondering if there's a way that this goes in now. Can't see what specific would be. Do you know, I've stripped these derailleurs down before, but I have not seen that strange setup. If this has got a specific way that goes in, then I wonder if one of these holes is bigger than the other. Ah, right, yes, so it does have a way it goes in. There we go. Let's get the other one done. Right, so it's one of these offset ones, so obviously just think about where you came. Just push that to the side. Try and get all this off in a oneer. This fall to bits. I'll give one thing to SRAM, they certainly know how to over-engineer something. It's part of the wee derailleur, a wee clean. Right, let's grease it up. Probably went a wee bit too much grease on here actually, but that's what we're going to do. So you have to make sure we get our holes lined up, otherwise that will not go back on. Right, so one is going into a little indentation, and that comes back across. That dimple there, you see, one on the dimple, and the other one is for the screw. When you get everything right. Of course, that's if we got the hole lined up on the other side. That is the problem, which I think we may not have done. Ah, there we go. It's obviously just out only very slightly. And there we go. I think that one, or that type, is definitely more critical, that it needs to be lubricated, because you've got that big metal cylinder with the holes in it is spinning around, or the plastic jockey wheel is spinning around on that. Dab in some oil on our joints. I like our joints to get a wee bit of an oil when we get old. Can't imagine the derailleur's going to be any different. I mean, it was working lovely and smooth anyway, but that'll just help. Right, then we can literally just rub that in to give it a little bit of luster, mainly on the black bits. Right, we're now ready for the forks, but we've got to get the frame ready first. Now, the first slight problem we're running into, I can't use the bearing cups out of the original Specialized, because that frame is it's a smaller headset, but I have managed to find out my box of junk. I found 2 cups there that are the correct size for the frame. May have even come out of the frame originally, honestly I'm not sure. I found a couple of bearings, reconditioned ones. When I say reconditioned ones, the good second-hand ones that I've cleaned, and we've got the other various parts. So these are like, if you can't get this right, then we start running into problems, because things like headset spacers and stems and all that is going to be easy, but this is one thing that I always sort of struggle on. So we've got those. The only other thing we'll probably need is one of these. This is the dust seal that goes on top of the oh, do you know, you've been great guys, like when I don't know the names of parts of bikes or I forget them, you message, you leave comments, which is great. I asked what the part of the frame that the bottom bracket goes through, and one of my subscribers reached out and told me that was a bottom bracket shell, so thanks for that. So if you know names of parts that I'm struggling with, definitely, because if you tell me enough, I will remember it, because I know how to do stuff, don't always pick up the names. Right, let's get these cups pressed in, just put a little bit of grease on there. AliExpress cup setter, I think you call it. Now, there are little sections on this, but I find, to be honest, they just never fit well enough. So I tend to just use the blank sides. So we'll go in this way first. You got to screw that bit up every time. So just want to drive that down. Just try and get your cups flat so they get driven into the frame flat. We're good to go. Stands. There we go. And for whatever I think this was, £30, it'll do. So that bites, it should stop turning. Yeah, just make sure that lines up and it's fine. There we go. Right, I've had these through the ultrasonic already, but just to make sure, just give them a little bit of GT85. When do I ever use WD-40? And then we just give them a wee whisk. Yeah, see, we're leaving virtually nothing behind. I would say that these were properly cleaned, but we don't want a crunchy. Now, you know, I use GT85 because that way, if I don't get all the GT85 out, and if you use degreaser, the problem would be is that the degreaser will try and degrease the grease that you put in, which is not obviously ideal. But at least with GT85, yes, if there was GT85 in there, it would thin the grease down slightly, but it would knock it out. To be honest, this is normally actually how I put them away. I do all this before they go in the box, but I mustn't have done that with these ones. I think I must have cleaned them, then stuck them in the drawer. Right, as much as we can get on, so to speak. There we go. Bearing, a little bit on top. Just going to do the same underneath. Sadly out of shot. Right, let's have a go with the fork. So I've got that already greased up. So we can slide that in there. Right guys, I've had to make a slight change of plan because the bits I had looked out didn't actually fit proper. So I'm now going to, because what it is the old headset, remember this is different. Got a different size headset, basically, the outside part. And what is that called? I don't know. Down in the comments, please tell me. So we're going to use this one instead. And then we've got the collar. And this should all work out because I had a wee dry running and started filming. There we go. Now I think I need a few spacers because these are actually quite long. So if I get the bar up, oh yeah, we've got quite far to go. Poop. And I think I've looked at all the ones I have. I might have to actually just do a wee mix of thick ones and thin ones. So I'm just not going to have enough. So I'll put thick ones on first. A couple of these on top. And then I might need to trim it with these ones. That's what we're going to have to do. There we go, that's a good fit. Now the problem is, of course, I've not brought the top part with me. Right, let's give that a wee grease. And then we can drop that in, tighten up and see where we are. Right, let's see if anything snags up, because obviously we have changed from the norm slightly. Yeah, that's what I had a feeling that was just going to tighten stuff up and stop working. I wonder if the problem's actually because we were using the thick collars. Right guys, so a slight rewind here. You probably noticed the spacing and all that's changed. It just, when I had it on, I was kind of playing, I just thought it just looked a little bit too hybridy. So, and I don't want to cut down the steerer tube. So I did move some of the spacers to the top just to, I think it just looks a little bit better. And the person that it'll be for has got that option for swapping that about. Right, I'm just going to quickly get the brake caliper mounted onto the fork. Just gets it out of the way because everything's now hanging off the cockpit. Now the only thing is, obviously they did this obviously coming from, well, actually saying that, of course, the forks are off the same bike and the wheel is off the same bike. So fingers crossed, will just require a little bit of sideways alignment and nothing else. We could avoid a bit of hassle here, which would be awesome. Now the back brake's not going to be as easy because it's an internal routing, so I'm going to probably have to disconnect everything, unfortunately. Right, rear brake caliper is now next. However, unlike virtually all the other bikes that we've had on the channel, this one actually has internal cable routing, so there was a small delay, so literally what you just saw was several days ago, because I had to order these little grommets. Fortunately, there's a site called Giant Bike Spare, so if you need any weird and unusual spares for giant bikes, old or new, electric or analog, then you will get them from them. And I was able to get these grommets in all the various guises. However, to pop all this through, I am going to have to take the caliper off, but we'll give the caliper a quick service before we... Right, so we'll get pads out, quick clean, and then we'll disconnect. We will need to obviously re-bleed the braking system when we're done, but I cannot honestly say this, and there's no other way you can do it because the cables go inside. Pads are, I mean, yeah, we'll definitely replace these. There is a bit of life left in them, however, for various reasons, they're rusty, actually quite badly grooved as well. So for what they cost, I'm just going to give this a quick clean. I have to go my wee one, which is just getting absolutely mullered now. Give that a wee wipe down. Cleans up nice actually. But what we'll do is, I'm going to put a little bit of lube, push the pistons back in, or we won't be able to get the new. Sometimes these plastic, this is just a plastic trim tool. Oh, no, there we go. Just popped in. I must have just been a case of getting it all nicely aligned. So we don't want, obviously we're not contaminating anything, but we also on the other hand don't want anything floating around to contaminate the pads when we put them in. But that's all fairly clean in there. I mean, we're not going crazy. Right, I was having a wee mull about. I could have sworn that I actually had the proper spanner for this, but I don't. Well, I don't think I do. So I'll just have to hope that this isn't too whacked in there and will come undone. Oh, yeah, we've got movement. I think we're going to be alright. Probably going to get a deluge of oil here. Unless it doesn't need bled, of course, but I think it was working fine, so I think we will... actually not too bad. What I might do is I might try and get that to the grinder and give it a clean. There we go, that came out okay. Okay, let's get going. So I've pre-slotted the hose, because obviously we're going to have the, what's coming through there as well, the front shifter will also be going through there, which will exit. So I'm going to do, normally you would have stuff from this side of the bike going straight in, but I'm going to kind of do with the more modern where it comes around this side. Now I don't have any slotting stuff like internal routing, so I'm just going to have to go down to the other end of the frame and try and fish it out. Let's get the caliper on and we can see how much hose we have. I'm a bit surprised if this have any issues with this fitting or having enough hose, because this is an extra small frame. The bike it came off was actually a large. So, and I know it's a different design, but you would think that we'd have enough. However, remember we are routing the hose in a slightly different manner, so I don't know whether that will cause any problems. Right, let's back that off. Right, I'm going to pull the hose up. See, there's... See, that's going to go in, say, there. Obviously a wee bit more. Right, spinning you round, if I pull this in, so that would be done. This is the kind of, see, I've taken it round this side rather than the other side, and it leaves it ever so slightly, because what you got to, see, that is fine, but what you got to watch is you crash and then the bars go round like that and then it pulls it too tight. The only trouble now is I'm now at a point where if I don't like that, I'm going to have to do the whole thing again, which I really don't want to do. Right, I've re-swapped the whole thing and rerouted it, so I feel like we've got a little bit more meat. Right, we'll just leave that loose for now until we get the rest done. There's always time to stop for cake. So as I said earlier, I ended up cutting this to get it round everything, and I think it's fine. And as I say, my local bike shop actually suggested doing this, so as far as I'm concerned, it's doable. I'm actually wondering, do you know what, I'm going to leave this off until I actually get the other. So one important thing I would say about bike restoration is it's planning. Simple as. And I have to say, I have not planned well on this one. So I'm now putting in the outer for the rear derailleur. I completely forgot to make sure I had enough, so I have barely got enough. And I have barely got enough exits as well, so that is going to be a slight pain. I think this is my only end. Poop! Right, so what I'm doing is I'm putting this all in here so that we can then I can run it right to the front of the bike, because it's full length through the tube, through the down tube, and up it goes. I just want to make sure that, yeah, because that's as dark. I mean, normally you'd have a big loop, but this is not going to have it on the SRAM. This is going to come out and straight in, because that is as far down as it goes. Right, now we're out of the down tube, we can make the final measurement, albeit, yeah, see, I prefer having that running round there, but it just looks like that was not going to be an option, so we're going to have to go the more like traditional route. I don't know, there's not much else you can do without putting more new hoses on that, and I do not want to get into that. Right, so that's down there, that comes up there. This is all quite snug, so I think we can cut this now. And then just remember with our wee hook, like that. And now I'm going to have to look hell and high water for a bar end. Funny enough, I literally just instantly found one. There we go. Right, I'm going to get some fresh cable into this shifter. Right, I'm just going to have to back this off ever so slightly. It's just to give me a tiny, the exit's just on the back here. There we go, and that'll pop out. And the new one should slot in nicely. Right, and then we'll just put in some of the secret sauce. Oh, just let that go down there, and then just run it through with a hand. Now I should be able to look through and see daylight, and I can, so I know that I definitely, there's just obviously, oh, there we go, there was just obviously something just snagging. And that can go back down, because I'll be down there, and then just make sure, because that just dropped on the floor, so it's always worth just running your hand through it all. Just putting that back in. And this should exit right out at the derailleur, all being well. God, this is going on forever. There we go. That does look like it's quite far out. So what we usually do is the adjuster, I'll go until it stops. In fact, it's worth, I'm just going to drop a tiny little oil on that. It's just going to help. That'll go in. Oh, that makes a big difference. So we go until we stop, that's it going tight, and then ideally probably in this couple of turns out. Yeah, a couple of turns out, because there's no adjustment at the other end. So that is, right guys, I did manage to in fact forget to put the grommet on. So I've had to just take everything that I just did there, I just had to take that all off. So I can, because I could just have cut the grommet, but as I'd already cut one already, I thought no, let's try and at least get one of them nice. So I'm going to put this all back together again. Right, now we can just get this grommet home. I mean, I'm not 100% sure if these are the specific grommets for it or just a general Giant grommet, because I feel like it really does want to fit, but on the other hand it's a little bit tight to go in. Oh, that's it now, I think. Oh, there we go. There we go. Nice little bit of internal routing. Nice one. Right, we may as well just finish this part off before doing the front derailleur. Right, so as always on these, there should be at the back of, see the back of here, there should be one, this metal plate should have like a wee groove in it. There we go. Right, let's see what we got. Up. There we go. All working freely. Win, win, win. So duplicating what we've just done for the front derailleur cable. And that's normally, as usual. Now again, I'm just going to put a tiny little dot on there, because that's, noticing that's almost all the way in, and then we're going to just back it out part of the way, and that will give us the adjustment float that we need. Yeah, I can see. Now it's important that you do, because what can happen, you can actually get this cable, you can misroute it but still get it out here and then nothing works. So once it's in, it's definitely worth just giving that a go, making sure you actually do get the movement out of it. Right, this is all the outer I've actually got left. So this doesn't, it comes out the bottom of the frame, but it does stop there. So I think we do have more than enough, but we'll obviously have to feed it through like we did before. So I'm going to pop it in here. So this is going down the route of the hydraulic. Right, this is going to be hard. You can see all these cables are all nice and tight and in place. So, well, actually, I just had a thought. It'd be easier if we just go the other way. Because see, that's where it's going to be exiting. You know, it'll come out, it will sit in there, and then the cable runs around the other way. So we need to just find. The other thing is the cable housing, sorry, the grommet that I've got, the three-way one that will go there, struggle to get this one on, mainly because the brake hose is quite thick and it's going to be trying to go in line. So this is, I can see myself in a right problem with that one. I can see myself actually just siliconing that up. I know. Right, so I'm just going to push this up till it gets to the top. Oh, it's a bit easier than I thought. Of course, we haven't put the grommets on yet. Right, now we're all starting to hook up. I've managed to find another housing end, but I'm definitely thinking this could be my last one, so I'm definitely going to have to go digging now. Right, in fact, actually, yes, I don't want to put that one in yet because I need to cut the cable, the housing down. Right, I'm just down here in the gussets, so I can just easily take it and I can see exactly where I'm going. I've got the play that I need at the other end, in fact, so I've got everything that I need, and then I can make the cut. Right, I've just had to grab like a used one off another cable outer. There's not much I can do. I don't have one. I tell you what, see when you're running internal routing, oh, what an amount of extra work it is insane. There's no, and there is actually no function and reason. Right, see that's all out now at the bottom, so we can just thread through the hole, locate the outer. Of course this would not be as easy as it looks. There we go. And now we've got a little channel to run round in, but I'm gonna, you honestly can't even remember if this is actually the correct derailleur for it. Yeah, I think it is. I have two there and I'm pretty sure this was the one. So as usual, we're looking for a sort of 2 to 3 mil gap there roughly. I would say I'm just going to maybe knock it up very slightly. And of course, the flat of your chainring to the flat of the derailleur, and then we can just mix that up. This one comes round. Work, I'm putting it with my hands in short and stuff, but I've got to get this up a groove on the derailleur before it goes over the top and back down again, and it can be a little bit awkward, and if you don't get it in the groove, it just doesn't work very well. You think you've got it, but I can assure you it doesn't work very well. Right. Now, ideally, of course, this is, I'm forgetting, of course, I keep forgetting this is the derailleur of the Specialized. So we haven't done any of the butt stops because I can guarantee we're coming back to adjust this. Actually, I think the stiffness is actually in the shifter. I'm going to have to give that a wee oil. A wee GT85, I think. GT85 to the rescue. Yes, what's happening, that's not, up at the shifter end, it's not springing back. So what's happening, if I do that, see? That's not going back, which is definitely not good. And I always hate to start stripping stuff like this down. I'm just hoping it's just been sitting. So that's 1 and 2. So that's bottom gear, next one up, big one. But that is definitely, I'm hoping, when I've got plenty of oil in there, and it's not further in. Right, as we disconnected the rear brakes, we're going to have to bleed them now. So that is not the most pleasant of jobs, especially doing the rear ones. And I tell you what's even more or less pleasant is normally we put a cup on, but we won't be able to do that because of the, I don't want to take the brake lever off just because everything's in the way. So I am going to have to use, I don't like using, if I'm doing a full brake bleed, I prefer to have the cup because you have a much bigger reservoir to push all, just constantly flushing brake fluid through. Because as you imagine, we're going to have probably quite a big airlock. Although what I might do is I might actually push the oil down the way. Normally you go the other way because air will rise. But I think we'll actually push it because the air will be at the bottom. So I think I might push it out the bottom first and then cycle it. Right, so we'll just get this syringe loaded up, so we'll need oil in both syringes. Oh no, I think we're all right now. Yep, don't need a full syringe because we need to cycle it through. Probably have done with a wee bit more than that though. This allows you just to go boop, and then that won't all come out. Well, roughly. Right, we'll do the same with this one. So what I'm going to probably do is put more in this one because this is one we're going to be pumping down. So I'll use this on the top. Right, let's set up the other end. Right, so we've got our nipple on this end. So we need to open up the valve. Not sure how much in this one because I haven't done these ones before, but I assume that should be about enough. There we go. Right, so this syringe is full and we're going to be pushing all this down into the bottom one or thereabouts. I haven't seen any bubbles, so that is definitely a good sign. And we're just going to seesaw like this until we get all the air out of the system. Now we can push it back up from that bottom end, or we can draw it back up from this end. Sign. You can do a bit of both if you can reach. So I'm getting some air bubbles coming up at this end, which is good. Means we have got air bubbles in the system. We want to take that syringe down till it's almost empty. We don't want to let it go dry because it'll just pull more into the system. Means we have got air bubbles in the system. And I think we are good. So we'll lock everything off and that should be us. I can actually close it off there as well. But what I want to do is close this valve so when I disconnect the syringe, it doesn't let any air go back into the system. Right, and we can close the valve. There we go. Right, syringe is out. Let's have a wee look down there. See, that just pulls the oil back. See, that's feeling better now. Perfect. Always a wee bit of travel, that's totally okay. You don't want it solid. That is more than fine. So let's give this all a clean up now. Fortunately it's mineral oil and not DOT. Boom. Golden. Brake block out. There we go, as we are done bleeding. I've got a pair of butt cloth pads. I'm getting super low on these. In fact, I've got one set left and that's it. I'll need to order more. Now you can see I put a little bit of copperies on the back of the pad. That just helps with corrosion and a few other things. Now we can pop them in there. We'll see. we want to not touch the braking surface. There we go. Try and keep them together so they don't all spring apart. There we go. Right, we're out. Now, right, I know I took a screw out, but you know I am not a fan of the screws. So I'm going to put the split pin that comes with the pads in, because these are just so much more reliable. You don't need a screw to put them in. They work. See, look, how, I mean, why have anything other than that? Okay, we're now ready for the wheels. I've had an inspection of the hubs and stuff, absolutely spot on, but tiny little bits of corrosion. So we're just going to quickly whip the discs off. Okay, we're now ready for the wheels. I've had an inspection of the hubs. There we go. Yeah, we give that just a little clean. There's a bit of scoring on it. I wouldn't say there's any, maybe a very slight lip at the edge, but that should bed back in. I mean, we're not going to put new discs on it, we're not at that stage. Now you could do this by hand, absolutely no problem at all. I just use a mouse sander because it's just so much quicker. I'm going to put new discs on it, we're not at that stage. There we go. Now I was asked on a recent YouTube short, like, why do you sand your discs? It's simply this. As we're putting new pads in, when you first apply your brakes, the roughness of the texture now that's on the disc is basically going to grab particles of your brake pad and transfer them onto the disc. This allows for bedding the brake pads in way quicker. Also as well, if you have got any scratchy ridges on your disc, it's going to smooth a lot of those out. So that's essentially why we do it. Also as well, any contaminants in that are going to get taken off. Right, when you put your disc back on, just remember to get the right side out. Usually all indicated by an arrow, so it's usually fairly easy to see. Taken off. Right, when you put your disc back on, just remember to get the right side out. Usually all indicated by an arrow, so it's usually... Right, now this wheel, apart from a clean, is ready to go back on the bike. Right, back wheel time. Disc wise, no point in filming it, but I've done exactly what I did with the other one. To be honest, this is absolutely fine, but we've stripped the whole bike and we've cleaned it, so we're just gonna make it nice. Gonna take it off, ultrasonic cleaner, boom, job done. I'm hoping I don't have to put this on the deck, and this should just untighten. Oh, it did. Well, that was lucky. Normally I've got to wrestle with the floor. Right. I mean, it is a little bit dirty, so you know what, this is why it would not be an issue. Wear wise, it does look fine. There's a little bit of corrosion on the bottom, but virtually nothing. We clean here. Normally I clean the wheel hubs on the bike, but that'll be covered up. So I think these wheel hubs are actually going to go quite nice with the blue on the bike. But this is going to be, as far as Giant ATXs go, this is going to be severely pimped. Bit of greasing up on the free wheel for the next guy. And we have our cassette all nice and clean now. So as usual, want to line it up so we've got the smallest notch there, smallest notch there. Oh, there we go. On there. And then the next ones. Oh, there it is there. Just allows for a little bit of jiggery pokery. Right, so make this a little bit easier to get into. So I can, as I say, take it back, take it forward. There we go, and then just give it a wee burl. Just make sure there's no odd gaps. There we go. And now, put the skewer back in, and that is ready to go back on the bike. Now I know I see this all the time when I've changed the pads for these butt cloth ones. We may get a little bit of wheel rub or disc rub because the buttloss pads just seem to be a wee bit fatter than they need to be. Like that. We haven't got the caliper lined up, but I can kind of feel that that is rubbing both sides. Yeah, just touching. Alright, so in the slot. Oh, still got that bit from the brake bleed. Right, so we will have a rub because we haven't done the disc. If I can reach the brakes. This should help centralize the disc. Centralize the caliper, not the disc. The disc can only be but central. Yeah, so I think as per the front one, we're going to have to bed these in. As much as I like the butt cloth pads, they are a bit of a pain in that regard. Right, final touches. This chain is actually a very good one. It's got very slight wear, although it's a little bit dirty. It is definitely, and it's a genuine. There we go. Right, let's see how we're sitting on adjustment. Not quite. Need a little bit more tension. I'll have to do this up the upper. That's all the way down. Up, 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 up. Actually working very well considering, like literally one tweak. And the front changing up nicely. Now remember, we still have, so I'm going to have to work it a bit. Whoop. Come on, there we go. Now we are obviously cross-chained, so we're going to get rub. You wouldn't normally have that. There we go. Then one more. Perfect. Because normally if you were in the bottom one down here, you'd be up a couple on this side. Well, actually up quite a few, you see? And it doesn't ride. It doesn't ride. Doesn't rub. You know what? This is turning into a nice bike. So we're kind of at the 11th hour now, and I'm having a bit of a second thought on the tyres. Because we've put some really good components on here, I'm thinking this bike is going to be probably aiming more at a young shredder. Might be actually going to a bike park. And although these are going to be great for commuting, they're not really good for anything else. So what I'm thinking to do is, I've got some other 26-inch tyres. Now these are obviously, these are more of a trail tyre, but they're definitely more aggressive than this. So I'm going to pop these on and see how they look. But I think it might just fill the bike out overall. Right, what do you think of that? I mean, it's definitely fatter. Although I would have thought it'd be a bit more fat than that. But I think it makes a bit of a difference. I think, you know what, I'm gonna, because it looks more mountain bikey. I think the other ones just don't look right. I think these are going to be better, and I'm going to leave these ones on. Albeit probably for tarmac, they're going to get toasted, unfortunately. And that's it for another epic bike build. And this was a good one, because we took what was otherwise two bikes breaking for parts, and we've saved the Specialized Rockhopper and saved the giant frame that I've had hanging in the back of the workshop for so long. Now I did take the bike for a wee test drive, and I have got a skipping drivetrain, and I had a sneaky feeling that the cassette was possibly worn. And I think it is, albeit it seemed to be jumping all the time. I don't think it's the chain ring. I do think it's the actual cassette. So I've ordered a new cassette for it. I've actually ordered a chain as well. The chain's only at 50% wear and is fine, but I kind of feel we've come this far. You know, we fitted the proper trail tires on. I took it for a test ride, and it rides fantastic. Despite this bike is way too small for me, it just rides so well. And I kind of think it's a shame just to kind of tip it over the edge. Now, you know, I don't like to use new parts wherever I can, but I just feel it just tips it over the edge just to make it a really great bike. Because spec wise, this bike is way better than an ATX, because my son had an ATX and it had mechanical brakes, and the components, because it was a very affordable bike at the time, were very basic specs. So we've now got the Rockhopper specs, but on the ATX. So somebody who's looking for an ATX but just wants to be a bit better, we've got the perfect bike, because it's got everything and some, because we've even changed the tires. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm very close to the 1,000 subscribers, and I need 1,000 subscribers before my monetization kicks in properly. At the moment, the only way you can contribute to the channel is doing a super thanks, which would be awesome. I haven't had a single one yet. It is there. The little, what is it, a heart with a pound sign? Would be awesome. But when I get over 1,000 subscribers, then simply the ads on the actual video will actually start throwing a few coffers in. So once again, I'll see you on the next video. Bye.